Hi everyone, my name is Katie from Homes For You Real Estate at Margate. Today I'm going to discuss tenancy applications and the process which occurs behind the scenes before we pick up the phone and call our owners to run all the details by you to make the final decision. So there's a lot of work that actually happens before that point where we call the landlord. There's two main methods of application forms of which the tenants will apply. So one will be pen to paper and the other will be an online method, which is normally via one form. So we of course take our paper applications to any prospective tenant inspections, so people will either return that to us or they'll submit the one form online. Whatever's easier. They both do the same thing and they both ask for the same information. So, they both do the job. We're not fussed. There is documentation that we ask all applicants to provide. Now, this is for the purpose of doing as much background checking as we possibly can, because we want to make sure that this person is the best suited person to be living in your investment property. So they must provide us with at least one form of photo ID, and that can be in the form of either a driver's license, passport, or perhaps an 18 plus card. If you don't have all of them, obviously we don't mind, we just need the one, so that we know that that is actually the person that we are dealing with, and they are also good for the sense of cross-checking addresses, on the back of your driver's licenses and things like that. You've got your current address. So that's main point number one. Main point number two is income. So if the applicant is employed, we will ask for their last 3 recent pay slips. If they are receiving a benefit, we will ask for a statement to confirm what they received for that benefit. And if they're self-employed, we will ask for a profit and loss statement so that we can see obviously what income they generate from their business. We will also ask for an employment reference where we can, just to make sure that the employment is still valid. Obviously we just want to make sure as much as possible that these people can actually afford the rent for the property. So proving their income is the most important thing, apart from making sure they, are the person that they actually say they are. We also request for a motor vehicle registration notice or renewal notice, bank statements, utility bills, phone bills and credit card statements. Not necessarily all of the above, but as much as that they can provide of those things as possible, we like, because it allows us to check for, again, cross-checking addresses, but also to see if these bills have been paid on time or things are getting carried across, because that's usually a pretty good indicator of sort of how they're going to be paying their rent. If they're not paying their bills on time, they're probably not going to pay their rent on time as well. On top of that, we will of course ask, how many vehicles they will be keeping at the property, if they're going to be keeping pets at the property, if they're smoking, just as much detail as possible, because, you as an owner deserve to know as much as possible about the people wanting to live in your property. On top of that, we will of course also do a blacklist database check. So that's a ticker check is what we call it. So that's a tenancy database which is utilised across Australia and New Zealand. If someone is listed on the ticker database, they've had to do something very substantial in order for them to be there. So that's pretty much a done deal for me. We don't think they're going to be the desired tenant that you want, but of course we will inform you of a database listing if there is one. There is also, of course, the personal reference checks, I said before, the employment checks and all those sort of things as well. So we really try and gather as much information as possible. We are also big on gut feeling as well. If we meet a lot of these people at the prospective tenant inspections, the small percentage is if they're interstate. If they're interstate, we'll pick up the phone and talk to them, just to get a feel of sort of who they are. Because your gut tells you a lot about the type of person, and if usually your gut's not feeling right, they end up not being a great tenant. So we're very transparent with our owners when we feel that maybe something's not 100%. A bad tenant for an owner is a bad tenant for us. We don't want to deal with bad tenants and you don't want to have bad tenants in your property as an owner. So that's why we like to also give you that little bit of extra feedback in that sense. And, you know, a difficult tenant can be just as traumatizing to you as a tenant who's in rent arrears. You know, it's a really important thing, you know, and I really like that about our agency, that we do give that personal feedback as well, which a lot of places don't. It's just, you know, black and white, pen to paper type thing. Of course, it's the owner's final decision. We don't make this decision for you. We're here to provide you with as much information as possible so that you can make the most informed decision. It's one of the most important jobs that we have as property managers. Before you even have a tenant in there, it's one of the most important jobs that we do for you. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight behind the scenes and it's helpful. Any questions or comments, please post below. Otherwise, we will see you again in a few weeks. Thanks, guys. Bye.